So it's time to do another 2025 horror movies that you might have missed. Maybe they weren't on your radar because they didn't get like a major theatrical release. And I will say I was a little bit negative, okay? And especially in the last one of these, I didn't like any of those movies. I probably shouldn't even have done that video, but I knew some of you would want to know my thoughts on some of those movies. And yeah, I've been a little bit negative, but after watching some more movies from 2025, including some of the major theatrical release ones, right? I'm starting to get it. I think this year actually is not so bad when it comes to horror movies. Especially because not all horror movies need to be taken so seriously, and I think sometimes some horror movies you just gotta have an open mind and have a little fun with it. But I'll tell you what I do take very seriously, that is my internet safety and online protection, and I just want to give a huge thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. A VPN is an essential tool while navigating the internet these days. NordVPN helps to protect you and your data from things like password attacks, malware, and hacking. And one of my favorite things with Threat Protection Pro, it will block unwanted ads, so you just have a smoother and safer browsing experience. It also scans all of your downloading files to keep all of your devices virus-free. Also, I always make sure my tracker blocker is on so websites aren't able to track my data and activity. Sometimes the ads get a little bit too close to home. I can think of something and I get an ad for it. Unfortunately, NordVPN cannot protect your thoughts, just your internet experience. Also, don't worry if the movies in today's video are not streaming where you live, because NordVPN has your back with that as well. NordVPN is so handy when it comes to streaming because you're able to block your IP address so you can connect to another country and immediately have access to all of their streaming service selections. So hopefully you're still able to track down the movies in this video because, spoiler alert, they're actually good this time around. So make sure to go to nordvpn.com/possessedbyhorror to get the exclusive deal plus 4 bonus months for free plus a huge discount. It is completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. So there are 4 movies in this video, and we're actually going to go from worst to best, so we're saving the best for last. And naturally, I'll include my rating for all of them, where you can stream them, things like that. First up, the worst movie from this year in this batch, not completely for the whole year, okay? But just right now, out of these 4 movies, House on Eden. This came out at the end of July, and it was definitely on my radar because it is a found footage movie. Setting out to film their next paranormal investigation, Chris, Selena, and Jay encounter a malevolent ancient spirit that resides in an abandoned house deep in the woods. I think this had like a very small theatrical run, like very limited, before it went to digital, and I did pay $10 to rent this on Prime. Now this is a very, very small budget found footage movie, or what I like to call no budget found footage movie, which those 4 words, no budget found footage, that's music to my ears. I don't even care if it's bad. I will like it. I will enjoy my viewing experience just on an entertainment level. They have made almost $500,000 on this. It says in the box office, so I'm sure with rentals and everything. And that's one of the beautiful things about found footage movies is it's pretty much a guaranteed profit. Chris and Selena are YouTubers and influencers. I've seen them on TikTok here and there. I don't follow them, but I have seen their videos in the wild, right? So I did recognize them, and they're basically just living my dream. If I could make any movie, it'd be a found footage movie, and that would automatically mean a lot of people wouldn't watch it because I think found footage is overly hated on. But that's what I would want to make. That's where my passion would lie. So they're just living my dream. So congrats, Chris and Selena and Jay. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to support this too, because it's more independent, very small budget, and it's found footage and just people making a passion project. And so for me, that I want to support people like that. Now, you know how I feel about found footage, so I don't even know if I'm the right person to actually review this movie, but I'm gonna try my best to have a little bit of objectivity here because naturally I rate them higher than most audiences, I think. I'm often too forgiving, I think, when it comes to found footage because they will always have that entertainment value for me, so I will rate them higher just given that because I'm having a fun, good time. This is one of those movies. Don't take it too seriously, okay? Don't try to read too much into the plot or the story or, you know, look over the plot holes a little bit, and I think you'll have a good time. However, do not watch this if you have motion sickness while watching found footage movies. I am sorry. I normally don't love that criticism of movies because I've never had an issue with that. But this one, I didn't have an issue with it, but it was annoying. They didn't even try to hold the camera still. I feel like anyone would have tried a little bit harder. So if you hate shaky camera work, I mean, not all of it is like that, of course, but we do have some stable shots once we are like in the abandoned house and stuff. But when we're running around, they don't even try to hold that camera steady. So as far as the movie goes, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Okay, right in the middle of the road. Definitely not the best found footage movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But was there some fun to it? Absolutely. There's nothing really original about this. I think that the story is a little bit messy and gets very, very chaotic, almost hard to follow in the end, and just so full of tropes that I don't know if it knew what it really wanted to be about. And the ending gets really weird, and it almost felt very out of place with the rest of the movie and the tone of it. Like, I did not expect this movie to go as weird as it does and have some of the weird, disturbing scenes that it did in the end of this movie. So stick around for that, because maybe that would save the movie for you, but it almost felt like jarring to me with where the story actually went. It was very weird. I mean, there's hints to it along the way. It doesn't just like come out of nowhere because, you know, we're building up that story. But at the same time, it just felt messy. I think the script was just messy. It hits pretty much every single trope that you can think of in a found footage movie. Okay, every single one of them. We got long, slow build up, at least 30 minutes of nothing happening. Okay, we have annoying characters. Sorry, Chris and Selena. Annoying characters are in there. It has the glitch, the camera glitches, which in the 21st century, or at least in this decade, doesn't really make sense, but they are using like a Super 8 camera, I believe, in some of the shots, so that explains some of the glitches. But I'm really over the glitches. We need to stop putting glitches in our found footage movies, especially if they're using modern technology. That just wouldn't happen. But any trope you can think of, shaky cameras, all of that jazz, it's in an abandoned house, you can imagine what happens there. Okay, some weird things. It's not necessarily predictable because it's weird. It goes in a weird direction, but it has all that stuff going on that is usually in all found footage movies. So not my favorite. Wanted to like it a lot more, but obviously if you like the creators and you want to support them, then by all means. But I don't recommend paying $10 to watch this, and hopefully it'll be streaming somewhere soon. Next up, we have a movie that was released back in April called Frewaka, and I hope that is how you pronounce it. This is an Irish folk horror movie. Shortly after the death of her estranged mother, a primary care nursing student takes a placement in a remote Irish village to care for a reclusive elderly woman who lives in fear, haunted by her experiences in a Catholic asylum. This is a slow burn. Okay, this is one of those atmospheric type, character-driven, story-driven horror movies. And the word Frewaka comes from an Irish word that translates to roots, or more like deep-rooted issues linked to trauma. So the basis of this movie is grief and trauma. Those are like the major themes within this, and it's like an emotional storyline. I personally think a lot of the folk horror I love folk horror, but it always goes over my head. No matter what. I don't watch enough of them, I think. I enjoy them because they're so weird to me, and I like the concepts of them, but typically the themes and the metaphors go right on over my head. I think if you are more educated on Irish culture or even Catholicism, this might resonate more with you, but I didn't grow up Catholic, or I've never, been to Ireland or studied it or anything like that. So all of that is kind of lost on me. However, that does not mean that it wasn't an effective story for me. I don't want to say too much about it because I want you to be able to discover it on your own, especially if you are into those themes and you like folk horror, especially if it revolves around Irish culture or Catholicism. I do think that the setting and the characters really immerse you in the story, and it's a beautiful movie. I liked a lot of the shots, and the horror I think was pretty effective when it was there, but it is on the slower side, so it probably isn't going to be everyone's taste. I mean, there's suspense there, but if you have to be like in the mood for a movie like this, I think. And I hate saying I wanted more horror out of it because I don't think it meant do that as much because like intentionally because it was so emotional. So I gave this a 3 out of 5. I think it's definitely worth the watch. I thought it was a beautiful movie, but I think overall it'll be kind of forgettable for me at the end of the year when I like think back to all the movies I watched. I think I'm gonna forget a lot of stuff about this movie and like what happens in it. And I think it leaves some questions unanswered. But again, maybe that's just me and I don't know enough about folk horror in general. Still recommend it though, especially if you like that genre. Next, we're going to talk about a thriller movie, not a horror movie, but I want to talk more about thrillers that I watch too because they're adjacent. Okay, if you like horror, you probably like thriller movies and vice versa. I don't know. And that movie is Restless. This also came out back in April. This follows a middle-aged empty nester whose mundane life is upended when a wild new neighbor moves in next door, unleashing potential danger and disruption. What was happening in this movie is what my downstairs neighbor thought was happening to her. If you know, you know the neighbor saga. It's funny because I really liked this movie, but I have the least amount of notes on it. I really don't have much to say about this movie. It was just good. I gave it 3.5. It's another story about like an unhinged woman or like slowly unraveling. One of my favorite tropes or stories in a horror movie. Right now I'm reading Mary by Nat Cassidy. Same kind of thing. Just a woman unraveling. Love that. But this is one of those times where the unhinged woman is unraveling and you're like, I get it. Me too. Me too. I just understand sleep deprivation very well. And in this scenario, like I get her rage and I get her desperation. Like it really comes through. It was almost visceral to watch her freak out, crash out, if you will. And I could relate so much, and just that you're gonna do extreme things in this, you know, for the sake of sleep deprivation. I do think it's maybe a little bit tad unrealistic. I don't know. I'm sure there are neighbors that bad. Okay. I'm sure that there are, and I'm sure that there's scenarios where no one will do anything. No one will step in or help or anything. But it just seemed unlikely, the recipe that unfolded for all this to happen. And also her neighbor felt very unbelievable as a person. I'm sure they're out there, but it just felt so much to the extreme that it was unbelievable. Whereas her character was so good. She felt like a real person just going to her job. And maybe it's because we got to see more of her life and her personality outside of their interactions. But she felt real. Her emotions came through. Like it was effective. And maybe that juxtaposition added more to the story, you know, because it was like this line down the middle of their duplex. I'm not sure what they call those houses in the UK because this is a UK film, but we call those duplexes where it's like you share a wall. But this is a traditional thriller movie, of course. I mean, there are some moments. I wish I could get into it. I just want to say check trigger warnings. Okay, just do that. I can't say it without spoiling it, but there is something to warn you about. So if you are sensitive to anything, just check that. But obviously don't expect like the most horrific movie, especially in this video. The reason why I gave it 3.5 and not higher is because overall it felt a little unsatisfying. Like I get it's a thriller movie and not a horror, so we're not gonna go too much to the extreme, okay? But I was wanting more. I wanted more to happen, you know? So I just was a little unsatisfied with where the story went. And it felt weird. It, again, was a weird one. It kind of fell apart for me in the end and lost that momentum. So I couldn't rate it higher, but I still had a really good time watching this. Like the buildup and the suspense throughout, most of it, and their interactions, loved all of that. Okay, now we're gonna talk about my favorite movie in this video, and it is going to be one of my favorite movies of the entire year, The Ugly Stepsister. Elvira dreams of the weak-kneed virgin Prince Julian and is willing to go to great lengths to conform to the kingdom's ideals of beauty. A surprising and raw twist on the fairy tale Cinderella seen from her stepsister's point of view. See, this is how you do an original IP or Disney or like a children's story or, you know, folk tale and make it horror. Okay, we don't need that Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, stupid stuff, okay? We don't need that. This is how you do that. If you want to take a children's story and make it horrific, this is a perfect one. I gave this a 4 out of 5, and I am still like, I'm so obsessed with this movie. I'm like, why didn't I just give this a 5? And I feel like entertainment wise, it's a 5 out of 5. But when I put my little movie critic hat on, it's a 4 out of 5. Okay, so let's do the movie critic. We'll talk a little bit about that. Now, this came out back in January onto Shudder, and I cannot believe it took me this long to watch it because, oh my God, you guys were right. A lot of you recommended this to me. A lot of you wanted to hear my thoughts on it. You were right. This movie is fantastic. This is campy, fun, like fairy tale. It has all of that going on, like fantasy vibe. It's like a different world, obviously. It's Cinderella. And then it has disgusting body horror. Genuinely made me feel nauseous at times. One particular scene foul. It was disgusting. Even given that though, I do wish there were more scenes of that. And so that's where my little movie critic comes in, because I think it could have pushed it so much farther. The body horror that was there was pushed to a 10. I'm not saying push it farther from there, because you can't. You can't go farther than what they did, okay, in those scenes. But just like more frequent, you know, just more of them would be great. But what was there? Oh my God. I also think I maybe docked it a star because at times, maybe in the middle, it felt a little bit repetitive. There was a lot of like dance scenes, and I felt like it got a little bit slower in that sense. And obviously some of this process takes time. Okay. Some of her beauty things take time. So it's going to be a little bit slower to get to where we need to go body horror wise. And I think a lot of it was a little bit more conceptual and weird. So it's not like a traditional horror movie. I don't think at all. It's such a strange combination and I am obsessed with it. It could have been it could have been bad. It could have been bad to take something campy and fun fairy tale and turn it into a body horror. Like that seems like it wouldn't go, but this was so entertaining, like so fun. Oh, also at moments I felt like it was weird for weird's sake, and I really hate that. I hate when movies just throw in a bit of weird and it like catches me off guard. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like any of the nudity scenes in this was like, why am I looking at that? What am I looking at? Why? It just kind of felt like bizarre in the moment. And it's like, I don't know why we're doing some of these scenes. I think on second watch, I would give this movie a 5 out of 5 because I would just, you know, forego all that. Who cares? Who cares about those little nitpicky things? Maybe it has something to do with the fact it's a fairy tale and I just need to like have my suspension of disbelief, I guess, in some of the shots because it's supposed to be like a children's movie. I can't say that, but kind of that like essence, that vibe of the story is from a children's story. So I don't know, but entertaining as hell. Like it's so fun. Definitely going to remain one of my favorite movies of the entire year. It'll probably be in my top 5. Even if I don't give it 5 out of 5, it probably would beat some other 5 out of 5 movies this year just on entertainment level because it was so good. I really want to rewatch it. Like this I feel like is very, very rewatchable. So those are the 4 2025 horror movies that you might have missed. Let me know what other ones you want me to cover. I already have a huge list that I need to catch up. I've been so behind on watching movies and now I can't stop. All I'm watching is found footage right now, unfortunately. Not unfortunately for me, unfortunately for you. But you'll see me talk about them in a future video, don't worry, in October. But I can't stop watching them. So I have so many that I want to watch this year, like Dangerous Animals is on my list. I want to finish Dead Mail. I started that. Strange Harvest, I've been getting recommended a lot. It's another found footage movie. The Surrender. So those will probably be the next 4 that I discuss later in the year, even though we're already in almost September. So I guess in December, I'll see you then when I talk about all of those. I don't know. No, maybe in November I'll do another one. Anyway, let me know a 2025 horror movie that you haven't really seen anyone talk about or you haven't seen me talk about and you want me to. Leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed and I will talk to you soon. Bye.